Guys, do you think that just for once we could start a stream off with a colossal dub? Just like a gigantic seismic dub. Do you think we could do that? The National Labor Relations Board, aka the federal entity that decides whether or not workers get to have rights. Thanks, great, very, very good. Traditionally, how good are they at doing their job? Not very. However, under Biden's America, we have seen a real change, okay? And I can't do it any better than the article, so I'm just going to read this, and I want you to pay close attention, because this is actually huge, all right? A new decision from the NLRB will change the way employers must respond to union card checks. On August 25th, the board ruled that when a union requests recognition on the basis that a majority of employees in a bargaining unit supported the union, an employer must either recognize and bargain with the union or promptly file a petition seeking an election. For decades, if a union demanded recognition based on signed union cards, the employer could simply decline recognition and the union would be required to file a petition with the NLRB requesting an election. Only if the union won the election and was certified as bargaining representative would the employer be obligated to bargain with the union. Okay, this is unbelievably huge. So to put it another way, okay, before, if workers wanted to file a union, they would have to go to their employer. And if their employer declined, which they so often do, the unionizing workers would have to file with the NLRB, who would have to give them the go-ahead to start with the union election. Basically, first you ask your boss, and if your boss doesn't say yes, which they won't, you have to go through like a federal process. Now, when workers want to unionize, they just have to say so, and if the employer wants to challenge that, they have to file the petition. The onus is now on the employer, not the employee. Listen to this quote. It's like music to my ears. Many employers will not realize that they must initiate this process on short notice and will become unionized without ever having an NLRB election, said Ryan Funk, great name, an attorney with the Fair Drinker in Indianapolis. Meaning that workers will say, hey, we'd like a union. Give us a union. The employer will say no, not realizing that the employer is now the one who has to run to the NLRB. And without doing so, they just get the union. The election just happens. It's difficult. This is quite possibly the single largest positive change for workers' rights that has happened since the Reagan administration. I'm not joking. Just like that, just out of nowhere, Biden's America, this might be the biggest pro-union change that has happened in decades. Is this in a state or nationwide? Nationwide. This will be challenged in court. It might be, yeah. And if it does, I hope they defend it. This is a huge dub. Huge dub. Yeah, so the power dynamic will be flipped. No, Vosh, the election doesn't happen. It's canceled. Sorry, not the election. The certification, not the election. The certification. Yeah, the union is automatically recognized. The employer has to run over to the NLRB to initiate the election process, rather than just the shifting of the power dynamic. This will make it unimaginably easier for unions to form. It is a massive shift. It is altering 50 plus years of how representation cases have been handled by the NLRB. While the changes, quote, won't necessarily make it easier to organize, because remember, organizing is about getting the workers on board with the union, and that's a social process, and that takes a lot of work. That's like the on the ground stuff. It'll almost certainly result in a drastic increase in bargaining orders or unions imposed on a work group without a chance to vote. That's good. Oh my God. Dude, it's so good. Yeah, this isn't the only dub either. The NLRB just dropped a bunch of bombshells out of nowhere. Breaking, the NLRB has ruled that if bosses commit unfair labor practices in the run-up to a union election, the election will be canceled, and the NLRB will order the employer to immediately recognize and bargain with the union. Sorry, Starbucks. Sorry, Amazon. No more union busting, actually. Biden is here. Biden is a JoJo stand. Be deployed at every striking location. Absolutely incredible stuff. I have no idea what they're cooking over there at the NLRB, but this is a shift in labor rights policy that's essentially unprecedented in American history, you know? Like with one week of aggressive pro-worker advocacy, the NLRB has cemented, like, no matter how much it hurts to say, the fact that this is happening under Biden's America does literally make him the most pro-union president in modern history. This flatly decides it. It doesn't matter whether or not he had any hand in the actual decision-making, though historically he's been a little bit more left-leaning on unions than you'd think for somebody with neoliberal tendency. But this pretty much cements it, like, without a doubt. Nobody else even comes close. Compared to FDR, FDR was more about the welfare. I don't actually know that much about what he did for unions. I know a lot about what he did for the welfare state and for, like, Keynesian economics, but not so much, yeah, you wouldn't call it FDR modern, really, either, right? Because that's, like, during World War II, you know? Yeah, neoliberalism with Biden characteristics, okay? The future of America is rampant, brutal, dehumanizing neoliberalism, but every American is in a union, gets 2-hour-long breaks every day, and gets paid $26 an hour. That's it, okay? You will live in the pod. You will eat the bug. But by God, you will be unionized. That's Biden's America. Let's go. Let's go. I never thought Biden was so pro-labor. Well, keep it. This is the NLRB, though I'm sure Biden was aware they were going to make these decisions. Biden has historically been better on unions than you would think for someone like him. He's never been, like, amazing, you know? But this is huge. I cannot take away from this, you know? It is so big. Yes, Krem Lily. Biden is also more pro-worker than Obama. Oh, massively. Oh, God. These two NLRB changes are more for labor rights than everything that Clinton and Obama did combined. These, not even, like, guys, I understand I speak often in hyperbole. I really need to impress upon you the significance of this decision, okay? It's very, very, very big. Does this redeem him for the rail strike? Again, this is the NLRB, not Biden technically. You know, the rail strike was bad. In terms of, like, consequences for the worker, this is far, 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 far greater than any individual strike break because it's a national rule that applies to all union formation. But the rail strike break was still bad, of course. Biden... Oh, this is from earlier this month. Biden to reinstate labor rule shelved by Reagan, giving construction workers a pay boost. Oh my God, dude. He's on a roll. We're coming up nearly nearly a year before the upcoming presidential election, and he's had all of these. He's going to deschedule marijuana at this rate. God damn. Holy shit. You know, I heard some people talking about Biden doing some other stuff with the rail strike that didn't get a lot of publicity, and I never did much research into it, but it feels like this would be a good time for me to quickly take a look. I remember after Biden did the strike breaking, somebody sent me an email saying that Biden afterwards quietly basically forced the rail industry to give them a better contract. Yeah, he got them a new, better contract. How good was the contract compared to what they wanted? Did they get their sick days? Yeah, that was me, Lamau. It couldn't have been you, KCJ, because I've stopped reading your emails. They got the sick days? Oh, shit, nice. Yeah, here we go. Is this what it's referring to? Guys, I see the VFX Disney thing. I've talked about it. That's like 7 links in the past minute. Thank you. Most unionized U.S. rail workers now have new sick leave. 60% covered by new sick leave agreements. Last year, railroads came under fire for not agreeing to pay sick leaves during labor negotiations. Biden signed legislation to block the railroad strike. Okay, yeah. I think... You're welcome, Kate. I think... So, the reason Biden blocked the strike is because he really didn't want to be held accountable for economic damage right before the midterm. So I think that after everything was settled, he was like, okay, let's like try to salvage this together. Again, it's not good that he broke the strike. I'm not defending that. However, I do think it's worth noting that most presidents, and by most I mean basically all, would not have expended political capital trying to force like new contracts afterwards, you know? Like they would have just let the railroad union workers be and not, like, gone back and tried to clean up a bit. Again, not defending the breaking of the strike, but we have to acknowledge differences between him and, like, how everyone else would have handled this. Watch Bo of the Fifth Column's video about this. Yeah, he probably knows a lot more about it than I do. Freight railroad companies and their workers. I don't think this isn't what they ended up settling on. This was the compromise made when they broke the strike. And then later, they went back and got more, it seems. I'm sure it's complicated. When Biden ran against Obama, was he this based? No, definitely not. Though again, like, you know, it's hard to tell how people pan out once they're actually president, but I think a lot of this is just like time. Bosh, wait, the Disney VFX thing just broke a few hours ago. It's different from the Marvel VFX workers. Marvel is Disney. What? Is it Disney broadly? Oh, shit. Okay. People in chat were spamming Disney, Disney, Disney. Well, Marvel is Disney, of course. So that's what I thought you were referring to, because the Marvel, you know, union move happened recently. This just happened a few hours ago. VFX workers at Disney have filed for an NLRB union election to join VFX Union. Hell yes! Considering the fact that Disney owns literally all media. Pretty big. This is what my dad was cooking while we were together in Los Angeles, you know? I went down there, I was a power broker, we made big plays, we made big moves, came out with big dubs.
7 years. I moved to Los Angeles in 2017 to work as an intern.
Huge mistake.
Down the street in advertising for Disney, where I made $19 an hour. I took a pay cut to come work on Frozen 2, one of the biggest billion-dollar franchises this company has. And it took me nearly 3 years to get back to the pay that I was making as an intern. The company knows
Copyright isn't an issue when somebody's talking over it enough that YouTube's Content ID doesn't have an issue with it.
that there are thousands of people like me willing to take a pay cut to follow their dreams. And they have taken advantage of it for long enough. It's time for production management to be treated as the skilled craft that it is.
You can tell they're a VFX worker and don't have anything to do with, like, the production side of things because they don't know the correct distance to hold the microphone from their mouth.
It is. And time for us to be paid a reasonable wage for the cost of living in Los Angeles. I have a career working on successful movies that are known across the globe, that are merchandised and profit well. I should not have to dog sit and borrow money from my parents in order to make ends meet. Work does not just fall into our artists' laps and then onto the screen. Production management spends the whole work week advocating for our departments in order to get the materials that our artists need to work. We're not just note takers or conduits of information.
I've talked about this before, and I don't really want to reiterate the whole point, but you guys really would not believe how poorly VFX workers are treated. Like, my dad was in the VFX industry back during more or less its beginning, and it wasn't great back then, but it's only gotten worse. It's so bad. It's like you have the job security of, like, an Uber driver, except instead of answering to your 5-star rating, you're answering to, like, the most powerful and wealthy men in the world. And also, instead of driving a car, you have to be an expert at several, like, incredibly complicated 3D modeling and animation programs, which demands quite a lot from you, and you get paid about the same amount. Not really about the same amount, but not that much. Not enough.
Active key players who strategize, think critically, and build partnerships to boost morale in the darkest of times. Legendary director John Musker, in the directing of Animation Handbook, sang the praises of production management. He put it best when he said, "Me? I'm so disorganized that if I was left to my own devices, maybe the movies would get done. But it would be difficult. Anyone that works here know that you can spitball ideas all day."
I thought visual effects began with Lucas Island. Okay, I could be wrong on this, okay? But okay, so visual effects is a blanket term that can refer to a lot of stuff. But when people talk about, I assume what they're referring to with their job and what my dad did and what a lot of people do and what a lot of this is about CGI, computer-generated imagery. VFX can be a lot of stuff. Like, VFX can be having squibs, or like fake blood if a person gets fake shot from it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into visual effects that isn't necessarily creating stuff in CG. And there's compositing work that you can do in computers that isn't technically CG, but is just more like cleaning up or assembling stuff together digitally.
We do it all the time. But until milestones are set and plans are made, they're just that, ideas. Not movies, not franchises, just ideas. But here's an idea. You could let Animation Guild you could let Production Management join the Animation Guild and get the representation we deserve. Thank you.
Hell yes. This is the most aggressively like pro-labor environment this country has ever seen. We're doing it, boys. We're doing the whole Weimar bit. We saw the rise of fascism. We see the rise of fascism, and we also see the rise of like economic collapse induced worker agitation and class warfare. Everything is reassembling. The one battle is sort of constructing itself from first principles. It's like the one conflict that happens every time. Could you remind us how the Weimar Republic ended up? Don't worry about it. Would you be willing to do a stream teaching people how to unionize their workplaces? I actually have an IWW representative scheduled to come on stream soon to discuss that exact subject. Don't worry.